Welcome back, Red Spotters. This is Red Spotlight Entertainment, the podcast that brings you all of the latest stories coming out of the world of movies. I'm your host, Alexis Soto, joined by Mr. David Francisco. He's back, and that, you know what that means? We've got more recaps. We've got more Marvel recaps. That's right, our recap TV segment series that we've been doing for many of the Marvel series for the past, well, honestly, David, if you really want to count it, we've been doing this for well over a year now. In fact, the thing is, we've been recapping weekly shows, if I'm not mistaken, since the final week of May 2020. It all happened with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? We did that for 13 weeks, or 12 or 13 weeks. Then we moved on to WandaVision for 9 weeks, or 8 weeks, however you want to count it, because sometimes they double up the episodes. And then the Falcon and Winter Soldier for 6 weeks. And then Loki for 6 more weeks. And Loki, God, when did that go off the year? Was it July? It was July, right? Sometime so. In July. And now we're here and it's Christmas time, guys. Look how quickly things go. What If happened, but that really wasn't a weekly show to cover. We like to dedicate these shows or these recap series to shows that we feel are kind of worthy of having a weekly conversation of. And so like shows like What If or The Bad Batch didn't quite make the cut, but we did discuss both of those in a previous episode, I guess season recaps, or I guess our feelings on both of those shows if you want to go out and listen to that. But for the next 4 weeks now, we are going to be covering Hawkeye. Jeremy Renner returns as Clint Barton, teaming up with the amazingly talented Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop. This Disney Plus series based off the Kate Bishop comic book series because, hey, this is her show, and the 2 episodes that we have here make that pretty fucking clear. And so, yeah, this is an interesting turn here that we have. 2 episodes. Clearly, they want to get this show out of the way with before the Book of Boba Fett comes along, and of course everybody here on Red Spotlight is waiting on bated breath for that to happen for that particular show. So yeah, that's our show here on Red Spotlight number 358. You know, it's kind of an interesting there's a lot to discuss, I feel, before we even get into this, like the episodes. I would say, for me personally speaking, if there is a least favorite member of the Avengers roster, and I am talking about the original 6, unfortunately, it may have always been, and I think the show even kind of knows that because it kind of pokes fun at that several times, Hawkeye, Clint Barton, and that isn't necessarily, I think, anything against Jeremy Renner's performance. The films never really gave him anything to do. And if the character, and I know the character has fans out there, what I always did appreciate about his presence was Jeremy Renner. He is a good actor, and he was able to, I think, have a charismatic persona that carried that character. Some of my favorite moments include his friendship with Nat. Also, how that he had kind of a, I think maybe the biggest spotlight he had was on Age of Ultron. Especially when he was able to lift Wanda out of, I guess she was kind of cowering in terror, and he was able to inspire her to be out and, be an Avenger, as they say. So the fact that we now have a Disney Plus series based on, I guess, everybody's least favorite Avenger, we tell the story 1,000 times. When these shows were all announced, and I'm including the previous ones that we discussed, we all had very little expectations of what they would be because they all seemed like, oh, well, these are shows that we're going to give characters that we wouldn't unearth greenlit movies for, which to an extent, that was very much the case. And so here, for the longest time, until I guess Kate Bishop wasn't, we all knew Kate Bishop was going to be involved in this story, there wasn't much fanfare going on. But what did turn it around, though, for me, in terms of creating some actual excitement and hype, was that trailer that debuted back in September, I believe. that very Christmassy themed trailer. And I'm glad to say that based on the 2 episodes, that trailer was very authentic to the story that was happening. Not only in terms of like, I'm meaning mainly in terms of tone, and the fact that this is a Christmas show, and the trailer wasn't lying about that. And it felt like it was fun and kind of goofy. And I feel like if we really dig down deep, that's really all comics are. I mean, not all, but that's a lot of what comic books are, right? They're fun and they're goofy. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we get in this space where, especially in this day and age, that kind of seems to be frowned upon by a lot of the masses and the fans. And the MCU lately has, their shtick is to make fun of the things that are in their comics, to kind of like, laugh along with the audience that's laughing at them and kind of make it okay. And the worst offender of this was in that Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, where, they literally were making a joke out of Doc Ock's name. And I've never seen a joke like land so terribly when it comes to Marvel. When I've seen reactions to that trailer, nobody laughed at that moment. And I think the reasons for that are pretty clear. And that is, these things are allowed to be goofy and fun. And sometimes, like, making fun of it, I'm not sure that's the best approach. And so the idea of this show leaning into that was kind of fun. So yeah, that's kind of the opening salvo for it. You have any other additional thoughts to add on to that?
No, not really.
Okay. So we come here at the first episode, and I guess we should talk about our initial impressions. I know it's been a while since we've done this. My initial take is this episode, we'll talk about episode 1. Strong episode to start off this series. I recognize the fact that, the plot is taking its time to really unfold. This is a TV show, guys, if you forgot about that. That happens in a lot of TV shows. And I appreciate that, a lot of the time was taken to build out the character of Kate Bishop, her origin basically, and who she is, to great success, I would add. And then also reintroducing Clint back into the story, which I would say is the most important thing. But for a lot of people, I guess they misconstrue that as like, oh, it's slow, the story's not happening, why aren't we getting to the point, where's all the action, what is this, Marvel? Come on, you already bored us to death with Eternals. They're talking and talking and talking, we want all the action. Of course, I'm parroting the people who, project these critiques on. I don't feel this way personally, but it's like, that's, I think, a long way of saying is, I was very pleased with the episode. I do acknowledge the fact that, sure, because there's so much dialogue, I guess that can feel long, but that's just what TV is, really. And so I didn't feel like that was a big ding, or really a ding at all on it. I appreciate it. And I think what is... this does feel a lot more like the Netflix shows than it does the Disney Plus series, for a couple of reasons. It isn't dealing with heightened abilities or taking place in other dimensions like Loki was or WandaVision, but it does feel like it's more grounded in a street level. We're also in New York. We're also dealing with gangs, and so you almost kind of feel like it's reminiscent of the days we were in Hell's Kitchen with Daredevil, which, by the way, those days are quickly coming back if you've been living under a rock, and I think the show has been teasing that pretty clearly. But yeah, it was cool. I like it. And I like a ground level approach to the MCU. I like the different levels that we're at. We can go as big as Eternals, we can go as far away as Guardians, or even Loki, but we can also bring it back down to a street level like we do have here with Kate Bishop and with Clint. And I feel that the first episode made it really well to where I got into this story and I got into these characters and I want to see what happens to them. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I agree. No, this is a really good setup for both characters, especially for Kate Bishop. I mean, we'll get into it in a bit. But yeah, I'm just what I'm really liking about the story so far is just that the story is actually just very simple. You know, with Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki and with WandaVision specifically, like there was just this giant mystery going on the whole time, and that's what was grabbing you. This one though, I like what they're trying to do is first episode setting it up, next episode and the episodes after that, obviously it's just going to be this build up of a relationship between the two.
Yeah.
And hopefully by the end you really hope that Hawkeye kind of maybe does take her under her wing, or maybe is okay with probably retiring after this and being like, cool, you're the new Hawkeye, or just, you know, maybe in time keep training her. I mean, who knows what's going to happen after this show. But yeah, with this first episode, I really like Kate so far, and I find it really interesting what they're going to do with Hawkeye, just kind of what they sort of set up emotionally for him at first.
Yeah.
So yeah, great start, honestly. Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the details of what happened. So we start off this episode going in New York skyscape in 2012. And immediately I was like, okay, well, this is what it was, because I had seen a review where they were teasing a big moment. They were, of course, this person has a history of framing, you know, things a certain way that I dislike. And so what this person was saying was that, you know, the first two episodes are kind of like, they're good, but not much happens. You know, it's light on action. Kill me. And on top of that, they this person mentioned that it has a big exciting opening that you don't want to miss, and immediately I called it, and I knew it the minute the 2012 came on. I called it, not that specific thing, but I called that the opening was gonna have a direct connection to the larger cinematic universe at hand, similarly how the fourth episode of WandaVision, you know, established a connection to the snap. So I was like, okay, I can very easily see through you what's going to happen. So when the screen came on and it said 2012, oh, great. Yeah, Battle of New York. We're going to see these people die, or it's going to be an explosion. We're in this building. So to me, it was very obvious what was going to happen from that moment on, that this is happening during the Battle of New York. And we're basically with little Kate Bishop and her parents. The parents are fighting over, honestly, something I don't even remember at this point. I don't even know what the fight was about. But, you know, clearly she overheard them. The dad comes and comforts her. He said he'll be downstairs when really he, you know, spoilers, by the way, at this point. He left the series because he died later on. That we died off screen, apparently. Yeah. And we see the battle ensue. Kate is walking through her penthouse kitchen when she sees a hole that was literally, burst through the Shatari, and she's about to be basically vaporized herself by a Shatari when Hawkeye himself stops them. And that's clearly the moment, I guess, her origin moment, Kate Bishop right there, to see Hawkeye be heroic and everything. And that's where she got the idea of a bow and arrow, and how, you know, this is really the genesis for her character. Is like, this is where I'm going to, she takes on this responsibility of like training herself hard enough to the point of being able to protect her and her family. And yeah, we see a funeral, they cry, and then we fast forward all these years later. David, your thoughts on this opening?
I actually really liked the opening. I mean, I didn't much care for the family thing going on. I mean, I'm with you. Like, I don't remember what they were fighting about, but I mean, it was just, I guess it was just a setup. for something later on, obviously. But I really like the moment where you see the attack going on and she sees Clint fighting off the aliens, and it was the moment where he jumped off the roof. Because, like, I mean, Hawkeye, if little kids are playing Avengers outside, whoever plays Hawkeye is because they were too slow to call out Iron Man or Captain America. So you really needed something to kind of like, why would she want to use a bow and arrow? And I think this is like a very, very good reason as to why she was inspired to use a bow and arrow. And so I think it was just a cool setup. And then, like, at the funeral scene, she gives her reason as to why she's going to train after this. And I really like the opening credits for this one. Basically just telling you what she's been doing for till present day. And it's basically just train. Not just in bow and arrow, but all types of sports and all that. I think it's just a really cool way to quicken that kind of story.
Absolutely. And then we get on to present day, and we see how great of a shot she's become with a bow and arrow that she takes down a clock tower. I think she was there on a dare or a bet that she lost with some of her friends or classmates, and they're trying to ring a bell. She does that, and then the entire clock tower just like falls apart, and she's just like hilariously just caught red-handed. The cops show up. She's like deer in the headlights as the tower is falling behind her. It's like, well, shit, that you really couldn't get away there, could you? And yeah, and then she gets, I believe, no, at that point we then carry over to Rogers the Musical, right?
Yes.
Rogers.
It goes to Clint, and he's watching Rogers the Musical with his kids. And I think his kids are just kind of like, this is weird. And especially with Clint, he's just kind of like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, kind of face.
Clint's just kind of like low-key trying to like ignore it. He turned his hearing aid off, and he kind of goes through PTSD a little bit there because like it is weird. Like that was... We saw it happen, the Battle of New York. We saw the scale of that, and then for all these years later, for them to do a musical about it, that seems kind of weird. First and foremost, just like putting it out there. I don't know how. A lot of people died there. I don't know how appropriate that feels like, honestly, but okay. But then for Clint to just like to see that, it's like that's not how it happened, and I know how it happened. I was there. Why the fuck am I here? I don't even know why he even agreed to be there.
Yeah. That is true, huh?
Yeah.
Like, why would, hey kids, let's go to Rogers the Musical. It's like, why?
Also, why is it called Rogers the Musical? Was it the fact that like that was just was it a musical about Cap and his life, and that was just one scene?
Probably. I mean, maybe it's just we don't know what the whole musical is about. It could be about his life. It could be his run on the Avengers. I don't know. But they said actually that they left in the middle of the show. So yeah, it's probably true. Just one scene.
Great. So they'll have more death to cover along the way. Destruction, as if there wasn't already enough. But I think what worked best in that moment was... and I appreciate this because, the rest of the universe has forgotten about this or doesn't give a fuck. But you zero in on a moment where he is looking at the actor that's playing Nat. And the music kind of slows down, and like he is remembering it all again. And, we're seeing, I'm grateful this is going to be playing a role to an extent on this show, is that, he's still not over the fact that his best friend sacrificed herself so that he could live. That's not something, as we saw at the end of Endgame, that, you just kind of let go or forget quite that easily. And I think that's going to be coming back toward the finale in a way, in ways perhaps people are not expecting. Also, when he walks out of well, I know that there's a bathroom thing that happens. I'll get to that. There's a funny thing that happens there. I'll go back to that one. But he walks out, and his daughter comes in and asks if he's okay. And I think she can pick up on the fact that he, probably reacted most to the fact that he's on Nat there and trying to like say like we all miss her. And that's nice and everything, girl, but like what the fuck are you talking about? Nobody missed her. I'm going to go back to this. You're the only people that have brought her up in like, I don't know, in all the many Marvel projects that we've seen post Endgame now. I don't know. It seems that the world didn't give much of a fuck about her dying, right? Because we saw Spider-Man Far From Home. We saw the whole world like put Tony's face on a mural or on screens. Hell, you just walked out of a musical called Rogers the Musical, not Nat the Musical. If you saw the No Way Home trailer, apparently, I'm not sure if this is on the Statue of Liberty or some building, but they have a big cap shield that they put on there. So, I don't know. It seems the world has pretty much decided we don't give a fuck about what happened to Nat. So I don't know what you're saying that we all miss her. I mean, you could have fooled me, David. I mean, did you think that too? It's like, come on, shut the fuck up here.
I mean, it's actually surprising that like Wanda didn't bring her up at all. I mean, I understand that she led Vision and everything, but I don't know. Just, I mean, to me, it seemed like Nat might have been like her best friend, at least in the group.
If only we saw more of that relationship, but we didn't.
It would have been nice. But yeah, I mean, really, it's just a nice moment between the two. He's trying to just be with his kids, basically. But yeah. Also, and then that bathroom scene, Clint goes to take a piss. Guy maybe followed him in, I don't know, but he goes to the urinal like right next to him, and if you know public bathrooms a rule, you gotta move over that one urinal to the next.
Especially since like the rest of them were empty. It would be one thing if like they were full, like you'd have no other option but to use it. But the rest of them were empty. And Clint immediately picked up on the fact that, this guy just wants an autograph because he's been through all that. So that's another aspect that we get to see in this. It's like, we never got a chance to see much of the Avengers interact much with the public. Except for like maybe in Ragnarok where like Thor takes a selfie with like some New Yorkers. We also see Tony get like snapped a pic when he's at the Nexus in Age of Ultron, I think. That's mostly it, I feel. And so for him like to like be like to have like random people walk up to him and ask him for autographs, it's like, that's also how like I imagine the actual like celebrities like Jeremy Renner or Tom Holland like get approached all the time like, hey, I like you, can you sign this here and that there? And it's like, I mean, I've seen, people, especially when you go to Disney parks, we saw a lot of like people who like we follow, and a lot of us felt like, man, we'd like to have a conversation with you, but I just feel kind of weird, like me walking up and saying hi to you as if I know you, but you don't know me. Like I may know you, but you don't know me, and that seems a bit weird. To just go and do that. So like, it always makes you wonder about like, walking up to strangers and like acting as if you know them. But we saw a lot of celebrities when we were at, or Disney celebrities when we were at the Disney parks and everything. So that was interesting. But the most important thing, and I guess I assume was like a meta reference, or I guess, of course, you would have assholes in this universe that would feel this way. And maybe this was, what were they called in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show? Not Project Reclamation, but it was the Flag Smashers, right? Is that what they were called?
Yeah.
I guess because they were a group that actually thought that the world was better off when Thanos snapped half of existence. And in that urinal, we cut to 3 words. Thanos was right.
No, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure someone would joke about that if it actually happened. I don't know.
I'm not sure that was a joke. I mean, it could be a joke, but maybe I think there were people perhaps in this universe that did feel Thanos was right.
No, I mean, I think if you're drawing it on a urinal, I'm pretty sure it was just a joke. Like, if there was a group, I feel like you would they will make like a big mural about it or something,
or throw a bomb somewhere and make a statement out of it.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I think this is just kind of like a dumb joke, and I mean, I laughed about it because people
that was
say
funny.
that. I see it all the time on the internet. People are just like, Thanos was right. But
yeah, that was funny. And then what do we go into next?
I think we cut back.
Oh, we see Haley. We see Kate Bishop come back from school. She rendezvous with her mom, who is played by Vera Farmiga. I didn't expect that to happen. I mean, I guess I missed the casting call or the press release that she was going to be in this show. But Vera Farmiga is a pretty big deal. I mean, she, if you're not aware with her work, I mean, she's, I would say, mostly known at this point for her work in the Conjuring franchise as one of the Warrens. We just saw her earlier this year in The Devil Made Me Do It. And so it was kind of a shock. Like I was almost kind of like, is that really who I think it is? For the first couple of scenes, like they got her to be in this. Like, oh, that's a pretty good get. Yeah. Because she's great in everything. And so to see her in this, okay. And I like the dynamic that she has with Kate. You can see like a lot of who Kate is comes from her. And they both are very kind of like strong and to an extent like smartasses. But they have a fun dynamic with each other. A loving one as well. And I guess you can sense history of a lot of, as well as, many of us experience ourselves, butting of the heads, as they say. With, clearly you get the sense in the last several years since her father's death that, Kate really threw herself, and you see evidence of that all throughout the episode of, mastering as many, I guess, forms of self-defense or martial arts as she could be, to the point of her mother's frustration. It is established that, her mother does operate a protection task force agency of some sort, like a security company. And I don't know if this was something that she had before the Battle of New York, but maybe it was something that she came into and that she started, or maybe took over. I'm not sure if that was ever made clear. But I love the line that she says to Kate, which is, a lot of, most rich people and most young people think they're invincible, and you happen to be both, or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, Kate's attitude.
No, actually, I really like the relationship. From the opening credits, you see Kate training and all that, but like in every I guess scene, you see her mom's silhouette too in the opening credits too, and it was never shown as like the mom kind of being like pushy towards her to be number one or anything like that. Like, no, it was already supportive in that she wants to train herself, and I really like, she gives her like a, hey, I got another medal. She's like, cool, one for the box, and usually there's always like there is a what's the word, like a struggle between the two, or like something between, there's always something between parent and child in every other show, but this one though, it really did seem like a loving relationship that they both want to support. The mom wants to support Kate in everything she does, but Kate,
there's friction.
There's friction. That's a better word.
There's friction between both of them, because like I feel like her mom makes it pretty clear that she doesn't want Kate to be overextending herself and putting herself in dangerous situations, of which we do see come to fruition later on. But then there's also, at least on Kate's part, is she also becomes suspicious of other entanglements, shall we say, that the mom is involved with in later on in the episode. And I feel that's in this particular scene, we are also introduced to Armand, who is presumably at this point a individual that her mom has gotten very intimate with, and like a couple of other things to point out here. When she mentioned to Kate to just come to the party Not really clear about what kind of party it is, but also I feel like I got the sense almost immediately that even though Kate didn't get that impression, oh shit, she got engaged to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And now comes the part where she's going to have to say, and of course that no matter who it was going to be, that was going to be a big deal because of course, you know, tragedy happened to rip away their father.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, her father, her husband from what happened. So like, that would be kind of a big deal to address. Another aspect is, and I guess this also speaks to who Kate is, she ain't exactly a girly girl, and I think her mom kind of wants her to be a little bit more that way when she mentioned, there's a beautiful red dress that I put in your room, can you please wear that when you come to the party? And then we cut to the party, she ain't wearing that red dress. She's wearing a stylish tux, and she's rocking it.
Yeah.
So there's that, but you can definitely see the clash of personalities there, just based on their wardrobe, which is a really nice, a great. You know, we want to compliment the costume department for providing that, and also it's just a great way of using the costumes for these characters to kind of differentiate who they are. So that was nice. I don't know if you caught on to all that, but I think it was pretty clear.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I got that.
Then we get to the party, and it's and by the way, if it hasn't been mentioned, these people are lavishly rich. They're so incredibly rich. Like she fucking Kate took down a clock tower, and the mom was like, "Oh, I gotta write some checks." Like no big deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, she was like, "Guess I gotta cancel your credit cards as punishment." I'm like, "What the fuck?
Credit cards?
Credit cards? Barely had the one. What the fuck?"
I know, right? It's like okay. They're obscenely rich. And so we get to this party, we're introduced to Armand's uncle, I feel.
Yeah, it was uncle.
The old guy, who carries himself with, he's basically that guy. He's that old, rich, white guy, that, carries himself as if he owns everything and everybody. And immediately he spills the beans to Kate that they're getting engaged and that he reveals he has his doubts about Kate's mom and, kind of plants the seeds for what's to come in the future. Kate goes up and confronts her mother, saying that you got engaged. Mm-hmm. And at that point, the mom's like, oh shit, can you give us a moment, sweetie? Mm-hmm. Anyway, to Armand and everything. And yeah, they kind of they acknowledge it. The mom asks for Kate to just be a little bit happy for her that she's moving on and everything. And, Kate tries to be, but of course, she's not happy. I would say presumably most and foremost because they've only been dating for a short time. She barely knows this guy from what it seems like. And then you introduce this other element that Armand kind of threw in some interesting, I guess, I don't know, threats. Well, he makes a threat later on, and she overhears that. And so, yeah, that a lot, almost immediately, it's like, okay, but why is Armand threatened by her? What is he talking about? I'd like to know that, and I wish Kate would have asked that. And I think maybe she does ask her mom, what's going on? Mm-hmm. But we don't get much of an answer to that. So, do you think there is something more nefarious that Kate's mom could be covering up? Because there may be some misdirection happening. Because let's just cut to the chase of what happens in this dynamic. Kate is immediately suspicious of Armand's uncle and Armand himself. And Armand has this big, beautiful mustache. We always talk about the mustache twirling villain. And on some level, maybe that could be a misdirection. But I think immediately the show wants us to question why Armand and Kate's mom are together, what he's after. He is, from all appearances, far more wealthier, if you can even imagine, than Kate's mom. So maybe it's not so much money off the table. We start seeing these swords around the apartment that come out of nowhere. And at some point it is revealed, in this episode it is revealed, that Armand himself is a sword enthusiast. So, I don't know, before we get to that part of the episode, I want to ask you, David, at this point, there is a level of mystery involved with some of the characters at play. What do you think that mystery is, and where do you stand currently? You have any suspicions?
I mean, I don't think it's gonna be like some big mystery. I think it's just maybe the mom and whoever she's dating and their family. It's just, I think they're just gonna reveal that they're just criminals, really. I don't think it's just gonna be I don't think there's gonna be some nefarious plan to like destroy the world or something. Maybe like rob people of some money or something. But
rich people being criminals. That doesn't sound that sounds out of the ordinary, right? You wouldn't think that would be the case. So you're thinking that the mom's a criminal? That she runs a criminal organization?
Probably some kind, because I mean it showed in the beginning that they're probably already rich in the beginning of the first.
They were living in a New York City penthouse.
Yeah.
in a building that was literally like a stone throws away from Avengers Tower.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah, they were fucking rich.
Yeah, they were rich, but there was clearly some financial troubles going on. Like they sounded like it could have probably lose everything. So obviously with the dad gone, chances are she probably got involved in something just to kind of get by, take care of her daughter and everything. As to, whether she's going to stay a criminal, till the end, or maybe she should have a change of heart, I don't know just yet. But yeah, there's definitely something going on between basically everyone. I mean, it could be like a double cross from everyone. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. So we have that, and then with Kate, she stumbles her way into a black market auction.
Mm-hmm.
Where they have some interesting items. Both of the Armands are there, and she disguises herself as a waitress. Before we get into what happens in that scene, I really love Haley Steinfeld's comedic timing, because there are some things that she's like, and I guess just like her physicality, she's just like, because she's, I'm not even sure she intended to be perceived as this when she put on her wardrobe, that tuxedo. But everybody there just thinks she's the help throughout the whole party. And so she seamlessly blends in. So when she goes to the back kitchen, she just grabs a plate and walks in like nothing, which I thought was funny. But then she's questioned twice. The first time she's questioned by somebody who was actually there as a waiter. And like, I thought I was the only one that was supposed to be here. And she was like, well, Gary told me to be here. Do you really want to take it up with him? And he was like, okay, no, I'll walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, she's still snooping and everything and see all the stuff that's happening. Then the actual Gary shows up and he's like, who told you to be here? She's like, Gary did. And then you go in like, I'm Gary. And I love, because most people you would just like freeze or like run or something. But she kind of like, in a split second, goes like, but you see, Gary, that's the problem. You never remember my name. I quit. Which was actually kind of clever, because I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, that's pretty smart.
Yeah, just to quickly like get emotional, just to kind of throw him off and everything. And also like the handing of the plate too. It's just like, wait, what? And he's like, no. She just manages to get away and everything. And luckily she was like in some I don't know what they're called exactly, but it was basically almost like a maze in there.
It is a maze. There was some dark corners where she was able to just kind of like hide herself very easily, because like it's dark. It's really poorly lit. So also she's wearing a black suit, so that definitely helps. But no, that was hilarious. I loved it. So I love the sense of humor that the show is in. So I'm definitely down for more of that. In this particular auction scene, I guess where my mind goes is, well, I guess the character stuff. There is clearly some butting of the heads, or friction, as we want to say, between Armand and his uncle about like, he brings up his concerns to his nephew about the woman he's about to marry and everything. Also, you get the dynamic of their relationship as they like bid for his sword. So there's that, and that was interesting. But perhaps what was more interesting was the stuff they were bidding on. So the first thing that they bid on, I guess, a Triceratops
skull,
fossil or whatever. Okay, yeah, well, we've seen that before. Whatever. It's hilarious how we can just like dismiss that as like, oh, okay, whatever, we've seen it before. Then they have some items that you think to yourself, how?
Yeah.
Wait, how? There's a lot of hows here. So what is revealed in this scene is that they have the Ronin suit and the sword from Avengers Endgame that Clint wore. And presumably he left it at the compound and was there when Thanos blew that place to Kingdom Come. And we see at the end of the movie too, and they're like, when Cap goes back into the past, they're off to the side. That place was blown to smithereens, right? Like there was very little left of the compound. So right now in my mind, I'm just like, oh, but the suit survived. Completely unscathed. Okay. So did the sword, apparently. I guess presumably that stuff was like kept under lock and key. And I guess it survived the blast. But I don't know, David. You go back and look at Avengers Endgame. Like,
yeah.
That...
It seemed like everything was gone. And especially like for the suit to be caught, like I can understand maybe a few gadgets and weapons and all that, finding it. And I don't know. But the suit, I don't know. I feel like it could have been destroyed.
And well, the sword as well. Okay, that's one of the hows. The other how is, how the fuck did these people get their hands on it? I mean, first of all, you got to recover it from the site. But like, okay, black market people always find, get their hands on stuff that, we also see, we saw a little bit of that, right? In the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the Power Broker episode, where Bucky and Sam meet up with, what's her name? Sharon, and they go up to her place of business or her home, and she has all these rare artifacts that apparently are authentic, and the ones in the museums are fake. So I think we've already established, okay, sure, I get that, but that's one thing. The Avengers compound was blown to smithereens, fine, but that's also private property. The Avengers were there. There's also the Stark, the company Stark Industries still exists. There's still security there. It's still like, how can you just like hop a fence and like just freely roam and pick up whatever you want like it was like a shopping center? Like that seems pretty fucking hard, unless like cartoonishly, oh, the suit bounced off and it flew off to another part of the state. Like what? Like, it seems like unless they had connections through Stark Industries and you had somebody like fish it out of there, and that's what they were going. I don't know. It's like,
I mean, maybe
it doesn't matter at all. But it's just like questions you have, like how. But okay.
I mean, even if like the suit did come out unscathed, someone stealing a suit, they probably won't double check. Whoever's running the cleanup, I guess. They're probably not gonna go, oh, we lost a suit. Okay, who gives a shit? Let's get rid of this super mega weapon that will destroy a building in an instant. So like. There's different priorities. And plus, for these people, they're buying stuff that they can put in their homes, not so much that they can use, so it's fine that they have a suit on display and ready to be sold and all that. And also, if the Vulture is able to make something that he can take a bunch of stuff.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, it's possible.
But
again,
to be fair, I guess the only distinction is that, like, look, the Avengers compound was private property. You have to deal with Stark people. The difference there is that they were fishing stuff out of the Triskelion, which is government, which, come on. Of course it would be easy there. But I get, we have established a history of this happening, so not too much of a surprise, but just some questions I had. But basically, the place is ambushed. They literally blow a hole through the wall, which is kind of funny. I guess this tracksuit gang comes in, and they're, the target is the suit and the sword. Kate intervenes. She puts the suit on, and she is, yes.
The target was a watch.
What? It wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
But they were after the suit as well, weren't? No, you're right. It was a watch. It was okay. Good. Sorry, I forgot about this thing. What is this watch?
My guess. Do you remember in Civil War where Tony turned the watch into like a little
the nanotech watch that he used to fight off Winter Soldier?
Yeah, could be that. I mean, who knows? I'm guessing. I want to take a guess that it's Tony Stark's, and chances are, could do a lot more. Who knows? But yeah, I don't know.
Okay, that's right. That's right. Okay, now I'm remembering. It was the watch they were after. I guess I conflated that because they were looking for the suit afterwards, but I guess they were looking for the suit because they were looking for the person to bring them in to find the watch later on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So, but what happens to the watch? I forget. So, like, Kate is able to get her way out of there. We see how amazingly, like, talented she's become, where she's able to fend off these gangsters pretty much. And while wearing the Ronin suit, as she is escaping, she comes across Pizza Dog. I think we're calling him Pizza Dog. And she encountered him once before, and he seemed kind of sus. And for whatever reason, the dog is fighting this guy.
Yeah.
This member of the tracksuit gang, specifically because he wants the watch. And so Kate kind of walks into that. Kicks I don't know if they're Russian. I don't know if they are. Are they Russian? I don't know. The tracksuit gang, and takes the watch and the dog, and then she rendezvous at her apartment that we barely just realized she had an apartment.
Yeah.
Well, I guess she did, yeah. And she drops off the dog and I guess the watch there, and then she goes on to do other stuff. So a lot there, obviously. What did you make of Kate's acrobatic abilities to be able to fend off those gangsters, as well as what the dog's deal is? And yeah,
I hope there's more to the dog, just because I find it like kind of way too big of a coincidence that
that weird, right?
Yeah.
Like, why is that dog there, and why does he want that watch?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that dog's there. It's just kind of like, wow, it just happens to help her kind of escape. And the dog did get the watch. They do have the watch. I never saw.
Well, they have that. Yeah, they do.
Okay.
They got the watch. Yeah.
I mean, okay, cool. Well, I mean, it's just a little bit of a coincidence. But through her fight scene though, I really liked it. They got pretty creative. She's keep using the wine bottles to attack them and everything.
Right. Which shows that, she is
quick on her feet.
She's quick on her feet. She's competent and she's able, but it also shows to an extent she's kind of out of her depth too, dealing with all of these gangsters at the same time. And there were some moments where it's like, oh, you kind of fucked.
Yeah, and that's my tiny little complaint. There were just some moments where, like, there was one where the guy pinned her to a wall, punches her in the gut, and then like waits kind of like 2-3 seconds and doesn't do anything. But like,
okay.
Yeah, and I was kind of like, oh, you could have punched her like multiple times right there. Like,
or shoot her,
yeah.
Especially since they think that she's actually a Ronin, and considering the reputation that Ronin built, you think you want to kill on sight.
I mean, for that guy specifically, I don't know if he had the gun. I think she might have dropped it and all that, but it's just kind of weird. Like, you could have punched her a couple more times in that moment, but like, you just did it once. You stopped, and that gave her the chance to stop you. And I was like, oh, you guys can do better. Come on. And then there were moments though too, where one guy did have a gun, and like he points. I don't know if he was trying to punch her with it, but like he points it at her, but not so much kind of like, keeping it close to his body like some people do. No, this one, like he wanted to stretch out his arm, point it right at her. I'm like, what is that? I don't think I
don't know if you picked up on this, but I think like, I want to say that these particular gangsters, the tracksuit guys, on some level, they're kind of clowns.
I mean, they're called the tracksuit gang. I mean,
so I think that kind of plays into this.
Mm-hmm.
At least in their confrontation in that particular moment with Kate. To where like, okay, well, yeah, they aren't the best of the best, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's kind of what maybe on some level that was on purpose? The goofiness in that, maybe? I don't know.
True.
You want to say more on that?
No, that's basically it. Like, again, she was quick on her feet. They got kind of creative with the environment and all that. So I hope we see more of that.
We then we see Kate realize that Armand's uncle has been killed.
Mm-hmm.
She's freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
And then she tries to leave, and she's ambushed by the tracksuit guys again. And this one, she is pretty much overwhelmed pretty quickly, where she's not going to be able to get out of this. So she kind of like goes into a car and hides. And she's pretty much fucked until Hawkeye comes for the rescue, clears these bozos out of the way, and then like drags her off, confronts her, and then that's cut to end. That's the end of the first episode. And of course, episode, because, we have an opening sequence, we have it previously on. So in case anybody wants to get any notions that this is a movie, it clearly ain't. We don't want to relitigate that bullshit again. So that's the end of the first episode. I would say a very solid first episode. I immediately into the story, the character dynamics at play, and yeah. Anything else to say on the first episode?
No. I mean, like I said, this is a really good setup for Kate and Clint's kind of whole situation and the dynamics, and a good insight as to like what their arcs might be. Mm-hmm.
Right. All right, so now we move on to episode 2, and well, I guess we'll give off other impressions before we go into the spoilers of episode 2. It's not much different than what I had to say of the first episode. I like the fact that it's taking its time to flesh out its story, and we're getting to see Clint and... Actually, this is the first episode we get to see Clint and Kate interact, and first and foremost, they have a pretty great dynamic.
Yeah.
And I want to see more of that. So, great choice to have Haley Steinfeld, because Haley and Jeremy are amazing together, and I want to see more of that. And I love that we saw Clint be kind of like over this, and I mean over everything, but also kind of like have a sense of humor enough to kind of like move along. The LARPing stuff, that was hilarious. Yes. It really was, and we'll get to that when we get there. No, but yeah, I thought it was, it did, I guess, move some stuff forward. Not too much, though. But mainly what this episode was here to do was to, establish the dynamic that we're going to have between Kate and between Clint. And then we end off in a pretty interesting cliffhanger to see what comes next. But it's really, in any way, it's more of what we already saw in episode 1, but just more of it. I liked it.
No, yeah, I liked it too. Like you said, it's basically a lot of the same stuff as the first episode, but this was for sure a whole lot more fun for me. I was very excited for Jeremy and Haley's dynamic in the show, because I just thought, like, I've seen most of their works, and I feel like they had kind of have the same comedic timing in their movies. Like they're, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, it's kind of like quick pace in their reactions or sort of stuff and all that, and just it's almost like they both have like this like kind of no bullshit mentality in some of their characters, and so I think that's gonna be a really cool dynamic in this show, and they really brought it out with this one, especially when in their first interaction, which we'll get into. But yeah, it's just I mean, like I said in the beginning too, the plot, it's really not that complicated. It's really just Clint trying to get the suit. It'll lead to like just more and more stuff, obviously, and it seems like it's gonna be fun. But yeah, it's just really mostly character based story, them building up their relationship, and also him kind of trying to go through some stuff that doesn't seem big on the surface, but I feel like we'll probably build it up somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get into what happened in this episode. We pick up immediately where we left off.
Mm-hmm.
Kate and Clint basically are introduced, and they're kind of surprised that Clint is here. Like, oh, you're Hawkeye. And then Clint's like, what, you? You're the one that's been wearing this? They go off to her apartment. They exchange pleasantries, as they say. They have questions for each other. You get the sense that Clint is like, what the fuck? I love that when they enter the apartment, he kind of just like slams his head against the glass. Like, what am I gotten myself into here? And so, yeah, they kind of like catch each other up on what's going on. And I love how like Kate's fangirling and she brings down her bow and arrow, I think, for Hawkeye to send. They're kind of like my favorite Avenger. And that's cool and everything. And then, somebody throws in a fucking like, I don't know, a bottle with, Molotov, I don't know, whatever. Basically, yeah. And the place catches fire, and it's the tracksuit guys. They're back. They're back. And so yeah, they kind of have to get away. They have to leave the suit behind, unfortunately. But I love how in moments like these, in trying to like I love how Hawkeye throws one of those back at them. And I also love how Kate is also able to show off a little bit in front of Clint. Mm-hmm. That way, like, he like understands, like, she's not as she calls herself, a total noob. And she's very effective. And immediately from that moment, you kind of get the sense, man, these two together are going to be fun to watch when some more action sequences happen along the way.
Mm-hmm. No, especially, she tries too hard to show off when she saw
yeah.
So, like, her building's on fire and she shoots it, like, she's kind of like, oh my gosh, we got to put out the fire. She shoots a fire extinguisher and it does nothing. Basically, she was just kind of like, I guess she was hoping for something cool to happen, like,
and it's, oh my god, that's right, that's funny.
Yeah. And so I kind of hope that happens later on in the episodes, where she just keeps trying to show off just a little bit, but it kind of like fucks up and all that, which is a really cool thing.
I love the transition of like they're on the run and everything, and Kate thinks like, oh, we get to do some Avengers stuff, and then we could do a convenience store, and they have to like shop for like a first aid kit, basically. And she was disappointed. I love when she asks about like Avengers Tower, and I guess this is not public information, or at least maybe she just didn't know of it, but like when Clint says, nah, Tony sold that place a few years ago. And I think, Kate says something to the effect of like, man, that is so sad on so many levels.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny, like, from a fangirl's perspective.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I doubt she would know about that, especially because I guess her main focus is like Hawkeye. She probably doesn't care about the other Avengers. And
they're also dead. I mean, aside from like Banner, but he is off the grid, basically, I guess. But they're all dead. Or gone. Thor never really sticks around. Yeah, and then they rendezvous at her aunt's place. A place they need to hide out in, because at this point, the tracksuit people know who Kate Bishop is, and they are after her. And so Clint has to hide her out. They stay there. Meanwhile, before we move on to the next part of this mission, Clint needs to basically see his family off. We didn't talk about this much in episode 1, but, part of what really worked the best of Age of Ultron was Clint's family. Linda Cardellini, and then, of course, the kids. And we do see them come back, obviously, for Avengers Endgame. But we got to see Clint spend some alone time with his kids. And you see he's trying to make the best of it. This happened in episode 1. He's trying to make the best of, like, the time that he has with them, especially since, like, again, talk about trauma or PTSD, not just from like all these battles, not just from like his best friend sacrificing herself to save him, but he just also got his family back who he basically thought were dead for the previous 5 years. So it's a lot of things going on. So for him, you get the sense that he wants to throw himself into their lives as much as he can. But for what we do see of them, they have a really nice family dynamic, and I like them all, really. And so it is, you see, especially the daughter picks up on the fact that he very clearly has some work stuff to do, and she's concerned that it's going to get in the way of him being able to come home for Christmas. But he makes a promise to her saying that he is going to be able to make it back in time. And then the kids are kind of like shown off and everything back to the airport so they can go back to the mom. But no, I love Jeremy Renner's interaction with all of them, especially the little one. I think Nate was really cute, both of them, and the I love yous that they share. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's moments like that kind of make you, at least for me, I know we have disagreement across the Red Spotlight group, but it's moments like that why Nat sacrificed herself. She sacrificed herself for a lot of people, for a lot of her personal family, but also for Clint to get his back. And you see in that moment, that's what she did it for. That's what she was able to give back to her best friend. So I love, of course, no one's going to say that, but it's like, that's really what it was all about.
Honestly, it really gets me mad that people are kind of like, Hawkeye should have died. Like, I don't disagree in that I wish Nat would have lived and all that. You know,
I wish we would have seen her in that last battle. We would have loved to have seen her in that last battle and be in kicking ass and everything. Mm-hmm. But, as you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just that this was meant to be. Like, I understand some other people are complaining about it because, you know, it's the whole female character sacrifices herself or dies to motivate the male characters and all that. I completely understand. But this was different, though. I actually care about this character dying.
Yes. Yeah.
Whether it was Nat or Clint, you know, I actually care about them. And it was kind of like almost built up to this moment where the two of them had to face off against each other for the greater good, I guess, in a way. So, I don't know. But yeah, I agree with you. It is those moments that make you kind of go, yeah, he survived and he's with his family again. And you kind of want that, especially for him. I don't know. I feel like out of everyone, you kind of want that for him, especially to just retire and be with his family, raise them as best he can and all that. So, yeah, we kind of skipped over it. On the first episode, they had like a little dinner at a restaurant and all that. And it was just kind of like, you know, hey, what are we going to do for Christmas? Blah, blah. Just little chit-chats everywhere. He also had a cool moment. The waiter came by. He was just like, on the house. And he's just like, no, it's fine. We'll pay for it. But that guy wouldn't take no for an answer.
You saved our city.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, kind of interesting though. Like, usually, like, I feel like in those moments, you probably show the other characters kind of going like, yeah, you did and all that. But it wasn't in that scene. It was just kind of like awkward, I guess, for him, which is understandable, but not in like he feels humble in a way. It's just like, I don't like this kind of reaction. That's what I took from it.
Yeah.
Which is,
I see it.
It was interesting. But yeah, and then this episode, he's seeing his family off. The daughter's like super worried. She wants him there and all that. But yeah, I'm really liking the family interactions, especially later on when he was on the phone with his wife, and it seems like she knows everything. I guess. They're very. Yeah. She knows everything. Yeah, I got that impression, the same as you, and I feel like that's kind of been their relationship, right? Like they tell each other everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess she does know about the whole Ronin situation.
Yeah,
So I'm curious.
I think so, right? Like,
it seemed like she knows about the suit. She seems to know how important it is for him. I kind of like to think that, he told her right away. It's like, hey, you should know I went to a dark place when you guys were gone,
Yeah.
Especially because we don't know everything about his past. Was he always an agent? Was he always like a hero in a way?
Here's the thing, though. I know we had... I know this is going to come up later on in the show, but I guess here's where I'm confused. From Avengers Endgame, I thought the fact that the Hawkeye was Ronin was common knowledge, but evidently that's not what happened. I only say that because when Rhodey and Natasha had that discussion about where his whereabouts are, they seem to know almost immediately that, Hawkeye was Ronin and everything. Here's the problem, though. That's going to come back up. I'm sure we're going to see probably, like, Clint come into, like, some trouble with the law because, of course. But it's like, from my understanding, Ronin killed only gangsters, right?
Yeah, it was mainly just criminals. And I'm sure the criminal underworld probably know that Hawkeye was Ronin.
No, they don't.
They don't?
They don't, because they picked up Hawkeye at the end of this episode, but they didn't refer to him as Ronin. So they don't know.
Well, I'm trying to remember when he fought that one guy. Well, I mean, in the movie.
The Yakuza?
Yeah. He never mentioned that he was like Clint or Hawkeye or kind of like...
No. He just referred to him as Ronin.
Okay, then I guess it's not common knowledge.
But here's the problem. It's like whenever that, and I know this story beat's going to annoy me when it happens, but like, okay, so he killed a bunch of bad guys. I know vigilantism is like bad, and that's going to be a theme because, Kate Bishop in of herself is a vigilante, but I don't know how much of a bad guy Hawkeye is made to seem out to be when he pretty much exclusively killed a lot of heinous individuals.
Mm-hmm.
It would be one thing if he was killing innocent people, well, which I guess we don't know that actually happened. I don't think that's what happened, but whatever consequences or ramifications of his time as Ronin, I feel like we're going to see that play out in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Because we spent so much time on the suit here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna come of it. And if she's gonna figure out he was Ronin or something, or
Who, Kate?
Yeah, Kate.
I think it's gonna come to light
for sure.
Like, I mean, national public eye, and if that happens, then those gangsters are gonna be like, well, we've got some shooting to do, and the family needs to be kept on guard. That's for sure. So yeah, that's going to be interesting there. So, back to the story here. Clint sees the family off, he makes his promises, and then he has a lead because he had tried to go back for the suit the night before in the apartment, and of course, somebody took it. And the lead was that it was somebody who belonged to NYC LARPing, live action roleplay. Wow, this was something.
Yeah.
And so he goes there, and I mean, I gotta say, Clint could have easily just beat the crap out of everybody there and then just taken it. And honestly, I would have done that because you know what? I ain't got time for your bullshit, people. I'm sorry. I'm getting this one way or the other. Move or be moved, as somebody else said. No, but he, bless his soul, he played along. He signed up, and he was giving these people what they want, and that was pretty humorous.
One thing, when he went back to Kate's apartment to find the suit, I like that little detail where he goes to the second floor and tries to see the whole layout. Because if you remember in the first Avengers, I think it was Nick Fury that was kind of like, oh, where's Hawkeye? And he goes, oh, no, it's like, where's Clint?
Hawk?
Where's, you mean the Hawk? It's like up there on his nest. And
yeah,
Nick was kind of like, why are you up there? It's like, you should be, I told you to come here to keep a lookout. It's like, well, I'll do better on the high ground, basically. I can't remember the exact line, but basically, like, he likes seeing everything all at once. He has good eyesight, basically.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that detail. But what is? Oh yeah. So yeah, the lead was a New York City LARPing group, I guess, and I was laughing the entire time. Just like there's a woman there as a guard and everything. He's just kind of like, he's like, you can tell he's holding back a lot of anger and everything. But he signs up, and I like that part. It's like, name, no. Email, that's classified.
No, that's classified.
And then he's basically just kind of like kicking everyone's ass. And I like that part though, where like 5 of them come up to him, and he just does like a spinning sword move.
I love that. That was so much fun. Yeah.
And then so he meets up with the guy that stole the suit, and the guy's like, okay, fine, like I'll take it back. I'll give it back to you. Just let me kill you. And she's like, no. He's like, come on, man. It's like, I can really build up a reputation here if I kill you. He's just like, fine. And he's just like, kind of like puts his hand on his knees and kind of like goes for an execution style. But he's like, no, trial by combat. And it's just like, oh my God, fine.
And I fought Thanos.
Yes, I forgot about that. I fought Thanos. And then, he's just kind of, it's funny. And then the trial by combat starts, and the guy who sold the suit, he was really into it, kind of being like, really trying to like sell it and all that. But Clint's just like waving his hand, like, okay, whatever. And I like though, like right before the guy goes for the kill shot, Clint does kind of smile a bit. I think I saw a smile. But you really saw that he was starting to enjoy it a bit. I hope the season ends with like him and his family doing their LARPing.
Doing that? That would be so much fun. Yes.
So cool. Actually, I remember the show Supernatural did that. There was like
really?
Yeah, there was like some demon killing off LARPers. Yeah, so it was this guy who actually like legit stole or captured a fairy, and he was trying to kill off LARPers so he can like become king and like win a maiden's heart and all that. Anyway, but at the end they solved it and they were like, let's play. And so they got in full costume and like charged into battle. It was funny. It was a great episode. Anyway. But yeah, and then afterwards he does say he gets the suit back, and that guy does tell them like, you had fun, didn't you? And it's just like, I don't regret doing it. I'll say that. So it was a cool moment. I think it was almost like I guess you could say it's a moment of him kind of relaxing finally, because I'm sure,
yeah,
I think I heard that this show takes place 2 years after Endgame.
I did, and again, like, I heard that, and my mind goes to, like, well, okay, man, you guys and your fucking timelines, that would make this 2025. And this would make, I guess, Hawkeye would take place after all the multiverse thing. Because, like, Far From Home takes place 1 year after Endgame. But No Way Home takes place immediately after Far From Home, which is still 1 year after Endgame. So one would assume, based on that information, Hawkeye is the furthest in the future we've had gone into. So we're in 2025. So in case people wanted to care about that.
How far was Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Falcon and the Winter Soldier was 2023. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, and Eternals happen around the same period of time. In between Endgame and Far From Home.
Okay.
In fact, Eternals happens at the exact same time as the Falcon Winter Soldier. Somebody pointed out.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay. I was just trying to figure out the timeline. But yeah, I'm sure that little moment of him relaxing he's probably in some stress because he's trying to get back together with his family. Probably wants to reconnect with them after all that time and all that.
Yeah.
So I think it was a cool moment to see that with Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because you do notice in the beginning, even with his family, you can almost see he's almost on edge in a way.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on here. Kate is, I think, revealed to work for her mom's protection agency or whatever, her security force, and then she walks in. Armand and her mom are there, and they agree to have dinner, and Kate senses the opportunity to use this as a form of interrogation. Later on, we are at that said dinner, and we see that Kate is curious about Armand's history and his fascination with swords. And I guess it is revealed that he does fencing, right? That's the sport.
Yeah.
And so she challenges him to see how good he is. And at first it seems as if he's kind of a novice, but Kate suspects that he had, been losing on purpose. And you get to see this really instance where it's kind of scary, actually, where she kind of lunges at him while he's looking away and easily pushes her back with his fencing sword. And it kind of gives an indication this guy may not be that much of a novice after all. He seems to know his stuff a bit here, and I wonder how much that's going to come into play later on. There ain't much more to say on that. David, anything?
No, nothing. She just gets a call from FBI or some detective, I think, asking about her apartment catching on fire, but I guess we won't know what happens till the next episode.
Right.
But yeah, her stuff is just trying to figure out what's up with the boyfriend and his family and all that. And she does get one clue, which is the candy that he gave her. It was a licorice or something, or no, not licorice. It was caramel,
butterscotch or hard candy.
Yeah, and it was the same one that was in that uncle's apartment where he died. So that's one tiny clue. But yeah, it just kind of cuts to Clint. He has the suit, he locks it up, and this is where he's talking to his wife and all that. He just kind of tells her, yeah, I just gotta face the gang and all that, and kind of make sure they don't go after Kate anymore and be like, hey, she has nothing to do with this. I don't know if he's gonna confess that he's Ronin or something. But yeah, he gets caught by them. He's tied up, and he's just like, just take me to your boss, please. I really want to get this over with. He's like, oh yeah, well, you're the one tied up. What do you get to negotiate? And he's just like, I'm not really tied up. And he just shows up that he got out of his cuffs. I mean, the whole situation was kind of going fine until Kate falls from the roof and lands right in front of him.
I love that.
And he's just like,
Clint's like, what the fuck, man?
Mm-hmm. And so now they're both tied up for good. He just kind of looks at her, blames her, like, I just had to come, huh? And then we meet, I guess, their boss. And it's this lady, I almost forgot. So they mentioned the earpiece with Hawkeye. And before the show came out, a lot of people assumed that they're just going to say that he's always had it or something. Some people did assume that. But no, that's not the case. When she asked, what happened to your earring? And it just cuts to a whole bunch of scenes of him taking damage. The fucking Avengers base gets blown up, and he's just kind of like, I mean, take your pick. I don't know what the fuck happened. So
it takes a toll being an Avenger.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of loud booms, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. So I found that
him smashing through the window of a skyscraper, him like fighting off Hydra in the beginning of Age of Ultron, like these blasts, and then of course what more did it than that Avengers compound being blown like that. Yeah, it's that was a funny montage.
Yeah, it was funny, and I found that kind of interesting. Like, okay, cool. They were going to explain it. Cool. But I guess the gang boss, she might be Death, I guess, because she had like the speakers on pretty loud. She was like feeling them, which is usually something they do, I guess. So that's kind of interesting. They were really building it up as like someone who's going to be like super intense or something. I don't know.
It might lead there. So because Peter Martinez has been talking about this character for a while, I think we can pretty clearly call who that person is, and I think it's already been confirmed. That's Echo. That is a character that at this point we know is going to have her own Disney Plus show. And she apparently is the adopted daughter of Wilson Fisk, Kingpin, who may himself be appearing on this show if the rumors are to be believed. So I think that pretty clearly was who that was supposed to be. And it could be that, somebody put out this theory that perhaps she wants that watch as a gift to her dear dad. Who knows? Maybe it's the dad that wants this watch and not her. So
that'd be pretty cool if it was the first thing. Just because again, I really like that the plot is like, it's not this big complicated plot like in Falcon and Winter Soldier where they had to like investigate one piece of thing after another to find the Flag Smash. It's like, no, it's just he wants the suit back, but it keeps leading him down to one rabbit hole after another. And so and I wouldn't mind that. The big thing is just kind of like, I just want this watch to give it to my dad. And it's like, who's your dad? Wilson Fisk, son of a bitch. It's like, I have to face him now.
That's going to be interesting. It really is, to see how that all plays out. But I think it does track because, Hawkeye is happening at the exact same time as No Way Home. No Way Home is going to feature the return of Matt Murdock. So I think like these coinciding at the exact same time as far as release I don't feel as an accident. I think it's kind of intentional in some parts. So that's genuinely exciting to see them back, slowly but surely. But yeah, and curious to see where this goes next. I'm not sure I have much speculation, although I will say there have been reports that Yelena Belova is going to be appearing in the show in the last episode to deal with that post-credit scene of Black Widow where Valentina, I guess, sicks her on Hawkeye. And I think if that is in fact true, that's going to be the one of Nat's ghosts coming back to haunt Hawkeye, literally, in that regard. So if that does indeed happen, a lot of people thought that was a setup for Thunderbolts or something, but it seems like it's going to play into this show. So I guess there's that too. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see.
But as far as that episode and anything, I think that we've exhausted what there is left to say here. I don't know what more there is to say.
Not much. Like I said, I really am excited for Kate and Clint's dynamic throughout the show. I really hope that by the end, they're just kind of like riffing off each other, really like having fun. So, who knows?
Okay. I think that's it. For this, thank you so much for listening to our show today. Reminder, of course, that we'll be back for the next 4 weeks to talk about Hawkeye. And then wherever we go after that. David, thank you so much. Have a nice Thanksgiving, beautiful Black Friday, maybe even a Cyber Monday, and of course, Merry, Merry Christmas. Red Spotlight will be here to cover many movies coming in the future, whether it be Encanto, House of Gucci, Nightmare Alley, West Side Story, Kingsman, and of course Spider-Man No Way Home. Got many, many more reviews coming as we head into December. Of course, as you know, one of our most difficult times of the year to schedule shows. There's a lot of things to cover, too many things to talk about, but we'll be here. That's for sure. Stay under our spotlight, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.